Anything can be attained or achieved if we can put our minds together. Our mind is in fragments. It's very difficult to get it together. And if you can bring the pieces together, it's the most powerful mind.
To find the truth, what is the truth?
Is there a truth other than what we think is the truth? That which is temporary cannot be the truth. All our ideas, everything keeps changing. Fantasies that we live in, thinking that this is the only truth. Somebody calls you a bloody fool. Don't get agitated. Look at the mirror. You might be a bloody fool. Meditation is one of the ways, probably the best, to discard that which is false. Better not to find a guru than to find the wrong one. I am inside you. I am very close to you. To understand the truth, to have wisdom, one needs to defragmentize the mind. I'm sure this video is broadcast somewhere. People hear it, they might then decide not to be with me. I'm very happy about that.
Thank you very much for your time. Maybe I want to start first with a question actually which is written on the logo of the foundation. With our minds put together, may we understand.
Yeah.
Can you explain?
Samvo manam sijanatam. It's an ancient prayer, sloka taken from the Rig Veda. It's as ancient as the Rig Veda. Sangachatvam samvedatvam, which means anything can be attained or achieved if we can put our minds together. When I say put our minds together, it has two meanings. One, the primary meaning is that our mind is in fragments, pieces. One is something is interested in one thing, and is another, and so on and so forth. It's very difficult to get it together. And if you can bring the pieces together to break the fragments and make it one, it's the most powerful mind. That is one meaning of the mystical meaning of it. The other is more to do with practical life and how we live, that anything can be achieved only if people come together. In fact, the meaning of the word Sangha, which the Buddhists also use, is that like-minded people get together into a Sangha. That happens, then what can be achieved is optimum. It's the highest level of achievement, even in bringing about something in this world and also moving towards the other. So I always lay a stress on the first interpretation. The fragmented mind has to be restored and made one. Then we can move forward. Sambho manam si janatam. To understand the truth, to have wisdom, one needs to defragmentize the mind. Our mind is in compartments. In one place I think I'm an Indian. There's nothing wrong. Okay. And in another I think, oh, I am an universal citizen because the supreme reality pervades all the world. Now, where rarely can we put these two fragments together. This is one compartment, that is another compartment. When you go to the essence of one's understanding, the essence of one's being, which is yoga actually, when Patanjali says yoga's chitta vritti nirodha, calming of the movements of the mind, it means restoring it to its pristine, pure unity, which has been scattered by this fragmentation. Identity fragmentation. I am this, you are that. I think this way, somebody else is thinking another way. All this is fragmentation.
So you were just mentioning now that to find the truth, what is the truth? I mean, are there not, is my truth?
Exactly. This is exactly what I'm trying to say. So I have my idea of the truth. You have your idea of the truth. So it's already fragmented. The minds are not meeting, right? When I say truth, it simply means the word has been loaded. The word truth has been loaded. It has acquired many meanings. When I say truth, I mean go to the essence, go to the basic understanding. First, let's start like this. Is there a truth other than what we think is the truth? When I use the word truth, is not talking speaking the truth. That's one small part of it. Truth meaning the reality. In Vedanta, in Sanskrit, the word truth, satya, is used as a substitute very often for satya, reality. So when you say satya, it doesn't mean just the truth, it means the reality, as opposed to that which is asatya, which means not real. So when you say what is this truth, you need to first figure out if what we actually see is the truth. And looking at it carefully, we come to an understanding that that which is temporary cannot be the truth. Something has to be true if it is true forever. So all our ideas, everything keeps changing, which cannot be the absolute truth. Even when I am saying this, it is only an idea, believe me. But when it is grasped and understood, then it's no longer a theory. Let me put it this way. We're trying to clear away the fantasies that we live in, thinking that this is the only truth, and looking for something, maybe there is something different. This search is what I mean by search for the truth. Of course, it's very practical to say that throughout life, 24 hours a day, 7-11, we keep talking untruth and then try to find this is not possible.
I think you put a strong focus on meditation.
Yes, sir.
Is that a way maybe to find the truth?
Yes. Personally, I feel, from my understanding, all these years, started at a very young age and now I'm 77. My experience, meditation is one of the ways, probably the best, to discard that which is false, so that what is not false reveals itself. You cannot make that. All man made things are like false, which is probably the reason when we go near mountains, rivers, forests, they're not man made, they're natural. The mind also then becomes meditative. On the other hand, I know people who bring Shivalinga and keep it in their homes and ashrams and say this is Kailash. I mean, this is not possible. There is only one Kailash out there, right? And then you build something artificial like the Himalayas and you think, haha, we have reached. No. When you really go to the Himalayas, I've traveled all over the world, wonderful black forests. When there is less of man made things and more nature, then the mind naturally gets into a meditative mood. However, we are lucky that great beings who have lived in the past have found out ways and means to put the mind into a meditative state and therefore free it from all the paraphernalia that holds, that covers it. But meditation need not be a formal, systematic meditation. Meditation can also be a free meditation. It need not necessarily be systematic, but we do require some system to bring the scattered mind to a particular position. Yes, this I agree.
So this is now interesting. I want to just come back to this thing that you said. All man-made things are just basically man-made, and what has the nature created is a different story altogether. So in this context, I always ask myself also, in a yogic approach to life, how important is now religion?
Really speaking, a yogi, true yogi, needs nothing, none of these things. But normal people who are not accustomed to or understanding something outside this little boundary they have made, to break those boundaries and to think maybe something else exists, this may act as a crutch. When a person is paralyzed, to start walking little bit, you need crutches. Let me tell you, 1 in 1,000 or 100 may not need the crutch. Absolutely, I agree. Because of, I would say due to past birth, but we can say because of the brain, which had experienced many things, has understood that this is not required. But for most people, some crutches are required. Therefore, that will take the mind away from the ordinary things which catch their mind. So they pull it out. You can't keep the mind in a vacuum. The mind cannot remain in a vacuum. It's like nature. If you try to suddenly keep it in a vacuum, automatically thoughts and various other things come in. So we say bring in thoughts which are conducive to your way of interiorizing your mind. Here is where temple, this, that, worship, but ultimately they are merely symbols. They cannot really take you to the Supreme. There are yogis who don't use any of these things. Kabir Das was a great yogi who lived in Banaras. He said, what is this truth that you are searching for? In Hindi, ना मंदिर में, ना मस्जिद में, ना काशी, ना कैलाश में, ना मोको कहाँ, where are you searching for me? Oh human being, I am inside you. I am very close to you. But everybody cannot suddenly jump there, so some crutches are required maybe. After a while, you should also make sure that you free yourself from those crutches. There you require a good teacher to guide. Otherwise, we are always caught in the crutch. We cannot come out of it. So this is where it happens. Or I think there is no better place to meditate and find the inner self like a natural setting, not a temple or a mosque or a natural setting like the mountains, like the rivers. I have a little place near the river where you see the water flowing every day. The problem is when people go and build their places near the river, they are looking for fish to eat. This is the problem. Everywhere, this is what comes in front. I have to satisfy myself. So then what happens? Then the whole thing is gone. There are resorts, right, on seasides. What do people do? Sunbathe, barbecue. This is also natural. The seashore is also natural, but it depends on a human mind. Now, if I carry a crutch, it is a crutch, I agree. Like I should meditate this way or that way, and then I go there, then I won't be indulging in what others are doing. I'll be doing in a separate way. But the problem is the crutch later on becomes more important than the actual. This is where the problem comes. I have been associated with a great person for many years before he died. He used to say that once the devil and his close friend went for a walk, and the devil picked up something from the lawn and put it in his pocket. So his friend asked him, what do you pick up just now? And the devil said, I just picked up the truth, the light. So his friend said, then your days are numbered. Because you picked up the truth, your darkness, your untruth, your evil. If you picked up the light, which is against darkness, so you're going to be finished soon. So devil smiled and patted him on his shoulders and said, don't worry, friend, I'll organize it. So even when truth is organized, it goes back to darkness. Why? Because then the organization becomes more important than the actual. That's the only thing we have to be careful about, my understanding, okay?
You were mentioning to find the guru who shows you the way, who accompanies you on the way. And you were actually recently in some video that I watched also saying in this country there are so many gurus who end up in jail also and
Very
do
true.
crazy things, and which is unimaginable. And people still seem to have trust and faith in these gurus. Please tell me, how do I find?
I think it is better not to find a guru than to find the wrong one. At least we are natural, we are moving in our own way. So, wait. Now, from my understanding, if one is really, really sincere about what we are looking for, at least what the search, then one need not go and search anywhere for a teacher because somebody will come. And it need not necessarily be one. If you go to the Sufis, for instance, a Sufi teaches you something and then he says, okay, this is all you can learn from me, go to that guy. But generally, I think if you're looking for a spiritual guidance as a teacher, it's better to avoid people with too much paraphernalia, too much self advertisement. Because the Indian mind usually also others, but is filled with a certain respect and adoration and devotion to the teacher, the principle of the teacher. So it is very easy to mislead. Very easy. It's not at all difficult. See, for instance, let me tell you this. People keep sending me hundreds of emails every day. Many of the emails, oh, yesterday you came in my dream. I always write back saying, I did not come in your dream. I'm not aware of this. It's your subconscious mind. Now, so then what happens? They will go to a person who says, yes, yes, I came in the dream, and I let them go. That means they're not serious. So I understand it is very difficult to find a genuine teacher. I had one, luckily. I don't know for what, how or why, but I had one who had no banner, who had not even footwear, no ashram, no satsang, who just wandered. Because of him, I am where I am. So I always remember this and tell people, don't get caught up by the paraphernalia. It's your journey. And if you have a problem, I'm there. You can ask me. We can discuss the matter and go forward. Don't expect me to take you there. The other problem. Somebody went to a guy, to a teacher, holding a basket on his head, which was full of cabbage. And he said, I want to learn how to swim. Now the teacher said, but my dear friend, I can teach you how to swim. It requires some practice. One day you may not do well, then you'll slowly learn. But first you have to keep that basket of cabbage which you're carrying down and come to me. He said, no, I cannot do that. Still, I have to learn how to swim. So he said, honestly, please find somebody who can do this for you. I can't. People come also, they come with a lot of load on their heads. Sometimes I also say, okay, and adjust accordingly and go to see if sometime they will begin to think genuinely. When they begin, then we can do some help. You started with a question, how to find. I think it is better not to find a teacher, better than finding a wrong one, because then all our life we are living under an illusion that we are going to go finally to the. I'm sure this video will broadcast somewhere. People hear it, they might then decide not to be with me. I'm very happy about that. Seriously.
When I went with Vivek yesterday for a route, he was mentioning actually that your intention is that people find the guru within.
Yes.
How to find the guru within without the guru, or if we are in this world with the scattered minds, and even if I go and sit in the meditation and then I think of, oh, but my girlfriend is
Yes,
sadness, and then my job and my boss and so many things. So how can we actually then find the guru within? Now, let's say without the guru.
When I use the word guru, I was trying to look at the definition which is usually bandied about, not in the sense of a real teacher. The usual meaning given to a guru. This is what I'm talking about. Not. I personally think, while it is better not to have any guidance, better than wrong guidance, if you really find a genuine guidance somewhere, where a person doesn't require anything from you, but want you to move forward, find something, then through association with that person, not learning anything. Of course, I teach Kriya Yoga and all that, but the mere association with that person puts your mind into a certain state. It's not deliberately done, or it happens. Why? Because I think there is only one mind. I personally understand that there is only one mind. Uh, Let me tell you in a simple way, instead of going into Sankhya and philosophy and so on. You have some fear. I have some fear. You have some dislikes. I have some dislikes. I am attached to some things. You are attached to something. I am jealous of something. You are jealous of something else. Normally, we all have these common characteristics. Now, your object of fear may be different from my object of fear. Yes. Okay. But fear is there as a common factor. So, if there is fear as a common factor, and if there is jealousy and anger and attachment and repulsion as a common factor in all our minds, I'm saying there is only one mind which has all these. It's not different. The objects may be different, but the quality is the same. Now, what happens? If that is so, if it's a hypothesis, if there is only one mind, I'm not even defining this mind, brain, or anything, I'm just saying mind. Then, if some change has happened, that to a remarkable change in one part of this mind, it can reflect to the other parts also. Which is why sometimes, even in bad ways, you will find a single person, very powerful person, even in world affairs, who can lead others because his mind has become very powerful. In 1 second, he can gather 100 million people around him and do things which afterwards we find were disastrous. In the beginning, it was like going to heaven. So, there is an energy in the mind, which, if it can be tapped, even by the mere presence of the person sitting here, it reflects. Here we have something very interesting, very practical. When the army and SEALs the, in the US, if they rescue somebody and the person is in great fear, one of the things they adopt, which is adopted from yogic pranayam, is they say, look at me and I'm breathing. You follow my breath, imitate my breath. Very soon, their minds become calm. So, if you and I are sitting together in one place and your mind is scattered, suppose, or my mind is scattered and yours is calm, then I watch my breath. I have a particular breathing pattern, a rhythm that's going on in me, in my tranquil mind. If I can get that person to also follow the same rhythm, very soon that person's mind will be free from much distraction. It will take time, many days, but at least temporarily, for 10 minutes or 5 minutes, suddenly he'll say, I'm free of this. How? By just imitating the rhythm of the breath. Because the mind's emotions are reflected in the rhythm of breathing. When you're agitated, it's a different breath. When you're calm, it's a different breath. So the question is, can we pass this on to somebody else? I think it is possible. I think that is the only way it can be done, not through any other means. Other means are auxiliary, they are not the main. So that helps. So I am hoping that these people who are with me, generally, I am hardly because I keep traveling, realize that they have to find what they are looking for inside themselves. And they can do that by just watching their breath and calming it down. It's a very simple technique. Not even projecting what you want, just watching the breath. Not even expecting what is going to happen. Then gradually the mind settles down. The settled mind is the tarmac to take off for something more. And it has no respecter of religions, caste, creeds, communities. Everybody breathes, right? Even in the Bible, there's a beautiful statement that God made Adam and then put the breath of life into him. Everything else is ready, but the breath is not there. It may be symbolic, but there you are.
Yeah, thank you for this explanation. This is a nice.
It's true in my experience, is my understanding.
So would you actually say that? I mean, that sounds almost like pranayama. Is this? I hear also before that pranayama is very important to the way to enlightenment. So basically, first of all, my question is this true, or second, is actually an enlightenment or a liberation of our suffering that everybody has in a certain way, is it actually possible in this lifetime?
I think so. Why? I won't, before you do that, see, the Gautama, the Buddha, I'm talking about the Buddhist teachings, not before the advent of the Mahayana. Mahayana came much later, Mahayana, where they have a lot of tantric teachings and so on. But the pure Buddhist teaching of the Sutrayana, okay? They like to call it Hinayana, the lesser vehicle. I don't like that word because we are Mahayana, bigger vehicle, and we are low. No. That was the original teachings of the Buddha. I'm not finding fault with Mahayana. That's a different setup. The only technique that Buddha ever taught, while he said freedom from sorrow for all mankind and so on. The only technique he taught was breath work, watching the breath, from which all this vipassana and so on have come like branches. Purely watching the breath is the only technique he taught. There is no other technique he has spoken of. Because what happens then, the mind is interiorized and everybody has the breath. You may be a Buddhist or a Jain or a Hindu or a Christian. Breath is common. It is our life. So the moment one understands this and couples oneself, the mind with the breath, then you're on. So what was your next question?
Is it possible in this lifetime?
Look, if it is not possible in this lifetime, it's not worth it. How do we know there is another life? I may say, yes, there is. I may say, but we don't know. So we have only this life in our hands. We don't have. See, this is the great difference between a religion that does not believe in past lives, only this life, and a religion that believes in past life. Past life, what happened? You say, okay, this life I couldn't do it, I'll do it in my next life. Is an excuse. I'm not saying whether it is true or not true. I'm saying how the mind uses it. If you have only one life, everything is urgent. You have to do it now, right? Like many of the other Abrahamic religions. See, there is only one life. You have to do it now or you don't do it. So, in this case, we should think that way, that we have only one life. We don't know about the other lives. Perhaps there is, perhaps, which gives some hope. I don't believe in it. I have some experiences, so I say yes. But I don't have to make others believe my belief system, right? So, whoever is on such, I must do it now. Not in some other life, which we don't know what's going to happen. If anybody asks me, can it be done in this life? I would say it can be done in this minute. You need to only change your mind.
How important is an asana practice in this path? Is it actually of any importance, or can we just say, this is all?
No, not true. I'm very sure that asana, I'll tell you why. In the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, which is the standard textbook everybody follows in the practice of Yoga Darshana, asana is part of the Ashta Angas. Yama, Niyama, Asana. Pranayama comes after that, Asana, Pranayama, Pratyahara, and so on. Now, asana, but in the Yoga Sutras, Patanjali himself dismisses it with one sentence. He doesn't elaborate on the asanas. In the Yoga Sutras, he says, Sthira Sukham Asanam, that's all, which means that posture which gives you comfort, optimum comfort for a long time is your asana. This is what he says. He doesn't go into elaborate, but in the yogic texts that mostly came from the Nath Sampradaya, starting with Gorakhnath's magnum opus, Siddha Siddhanta Paddhati, Goraksha Shataka, 100 verses of Gorakhnath, the Garanda Samhita, the Shiva Samhita, Hatha Yoga Pradipika of Swatma Rama, all these are Nath texts. They come from the Natha Sampradaya. There they elaborate on the asanas. Yeah. So therefore, since I also have some connection with that lineage, and since I started practicing asanas from the age of 10, because my father, even though he belonged to a different religious setup, he practiced asanas regularly. He had a teacher, very good teacher. He was also the yoga teacher to the Maharaja of Travancore at that time. So I picked up and I love it. 15 minutes, I've reduced the number now. 15 minutes a day, I do my asanas privately wherever I am, and they have stood me in good stead. Today, I don't have the usual symptoms and all that people have at 77. I don't think it's because of divine blessings. I think it's because of the practice, proper food, limited food, which is also necessary in yoga. You can't simply practice asanas and have hamburgers 3 times a day and soak yourself with whiskey. You cannot do yoga asanas. So some yama niyamas are there, rules and regulations. Follow that and do the asanas. I think it is very important. Of course, some people say, oh, bhakti is enough. All right. Vedantins don't practice asanas. All right. But there is no harm if you add it to your. For me, my understanding, it's a wonderful thing to practice asanas. But you cannot practice all the 100 and odd asanas. At least you can select a few. But since we are on this subject, I would like to also submit this to you that even the whole system of yogasanas has changed. And in some things, this gymnastics has been added into it and made into. I'm not blaming anybody. There was a great teacher of yoga asanas and pranayam whose lineage is still continuing. He didn't claim to be a guru and all that, okay? Avatar and all that. Good yoga. It's continuing very strong. In fact, the Ashtanga yoga that Iyengar VKS taught came from that time. But the founder was a gymnast in the Maharaja of Mysore's palace. So he added into yoga things like walking, hanging on ropes. The other day I went to some Ashtanga yoga practitioner's house, and in the studio I saw some ropes, some things. I said, "What are these?" She said, "These are all for asanas." But I said, "In asanas you only require a rug. You don't require any of this paraphernalia." So asanas have also been little bit corrupted, I would say. People do gymnastics and think that they are yogasanas. The basic thing about yogasanas, they have an effect on your ductless glands, the endocrine system, more than your muscles and so on. Nobody does yoga for bodybuilding. They are doing, which is not the proper yoga. You know what I mean? There are strange things like hot yoga, where people sit inside rooms and heat the room and sweat and say, "This is yoga." Yoga requires fresh air. I mean, yoga asanas, the practice. So, if you ask me, yes, I think yoga asanas are very, very important, even if you don't want to find truth or moksha, or you don't want to follow any particular lineage. Still, if you have a good yoga teacher who can, it's a very good thing to do. Good for your body, good for your mind.
It's just a very general question that I would like to see what is the purpose of life. What is the, I remember Krishnamurti also, he was saying, what is the meaning of our existence? Is there any meaning?
Look, if there is no meaning which we know of in our own way, nobody will want to exist. They will want to end their lives. So the problem is, not the problem, the fact is, everyone has a certain purpose in life. Most people have some purpose. Somebody wants to become famous, somebody wants to become not famous, somebody wants to become a prime minister, somebody wants to become a great guru. Everybody has a certain purpose. But if you boil it down to why they want to do all this, I would say they're looking for some kind of permanent happiness, some kind of permanent peace, some kind of tranquility, which unfortunately, by the time we discover that it is not coming from what you are doing, it's too late. Everybody is looking for something outside themselves when what they want is inside themselves. It's just a change of direction. You see all these beautiful things in the world and we think they are beautiful because of them. No, it's because of our inner mind that receives it that we see this beauty. Otherwise, the flower is standing there. It may not even be aware of itself and its beauty. I am aware of it. Why? Because my mind is enjoying it. So, enjoying the world with open eyes is not a bad thing. The problem starts when I want it to make only mine. Look, beautiful flowers everywhere. There is no, it's beautiful. You can't say, "Oh, don't look at the flowers, it is Maya, close your eyes." No, sorry, it is not Maya. It's real. But I'm not a Madhvite from the dualist philosophy, but I'm saying fact. But the problem starts when I want to take those flowers, cut them, and put them in my pocket. There's the problem because somebody else will want it. I'm not allowing the flower to blossom in its own beauty. There is a story that some journalist went to interview George Bernard Shaw. Well, he's not a spiritual person. You know George Bernard Shaw, the great playwright. And they were told that he loves flowers. They went into his house. They didn't find flowers in any vase or flower vase, anything in his house. At the end of the interview, the lady asked him, "But we heard that you are very fond of flowers. I don't see any flowers inside your house in any vase flower." He said, you open the windows. He said, see those, my garden, they are my flowers. I love them. I also love children. I don't cut their heads and put them up in flower vases inside my house. So, your question was, what is the purpose of life? I think the purpose of life, everybody wants to be two things. One, they want some happiness. We all want some happiness. Unfortunately, that happiness doesn't come only in the outside world. It's a state of mind. That's what we are looking for. Second, freedom. You can be given all the best food you like in a room. How many days will one live in that room? You want to jump out of the window and run for your life. Even a little child. So, freedom. So, freedom and tranquility and happiness, independent of outside circumstances, is what most of us really want. But we like to say something else. But if you look carefully and analyze, this is what we're looking for. This is the purpose. And we are saying the purpose is this, but we are looking in the wrong direction. We can reverse the direction. We don't have to change your robes, nothing. Change your direction. Instead of going out, look for it inside. Then you found it. Then the mind settles down. Because till it has found that, it will not settle down. Lay treasures in your heart where thieves do not break in and steal. Who said that? Somebody who walked the streets of Jerusalem many, many years ago, and who said also, now I might be labeled a Christian preacher, I'm not, and who also said, the snakes have holes and the foxes have dens, but the Son of Man has nowhere to lay his head. It's quite different from the papal splendor that you see. So that treasure in the heart, he also said, I love that Sermon on the Mount. He also said, blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God. So look around. Where are the peacemakers? Where are the children of God? Whether you believe in God or not, I mean, it's a figurative expression. And blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. I would add, blessed are those whose minds are settled, so they shall see the divinity. You don't have to use the word God, because what is that guy, Hickens, or someone who you won't like the word, the God delusion, Richard Dawkins. So I try to avoid the word God. Divinity, let's say. The divine essence in us.
That freedom that you are mentioning, is it possible if I'm now a poor man, a financially poor man, is it actually possible to gain?
That freedom is more a question of inner reality than outside. We have billionaires and millionaires. Do you think they're free? They're still looking for it. They think, if I have to travel from one place to another, if I have a private aircraft or a helicopter, I'm free. But they're not free. I know many people who think they are free and then realize they are not free. Sorry to mention this. United Arab Emirates. Everybody thought they are free, they are secure, they are safe. I'm not standing on Iran's or anybody's side, but look at the situation today. It's uncertain, right? So money doesn't make this freedom. Poor person who may be living in a village getting his 2 meals a day is happy, maybe more free than the guy who is globe trotting. I mean, jet setting, not globe trotting. Globe trotting is nice. It's good to trot. But I have seen such people. They live ordinary lives. You think they lead ordinary lives. They're leading extraordinary life. And they're living in a small village. They're happy. Of course, I understand. If you're married and if you have a family, it's not so easy. If you're single, it's easier. I'm not against marriage, but I'm just saying.
One question that I ask everybody who I meet, what is your definition? You mentioned it already a little bit in the beginning. Still, I want to ask it again. What is your definition, or what is your perception of what is yoga in your own words? How would you just say in 1 or 2 or 3 sentences?
It's difficult to put in 2, 3 sentences because yoga is a word which has innumerable meanings. The 18 chapters of the Gita, each chapter is called a yoga, including where there is no practicing going on or anything. But I would stick to the definition of yoga as a couple of things. One, leading a disciplined life so that you don't go into excesses and don't kill yourself by starving. Two, that yoga shouldn't make you a rock hard heart, it should melt your heart. Yeah, it cannot be that you practice all this and you become a stone hearted guy. This is not possible. It melts for others. Third, of course, is the technical definition coming from Patanjali, which is yoga chitta vritti nirodha. When he defines yoga, he says yoga is the cleaning or the getting rid of the opposing thoughts and the distractions of the mind, which are the vrittis. So the last one is internal, the other two are how we live in this world. If these three things are there, I would say somebody is a yogi. If the third one is not there, he's still a yogi, but he's not getting into the essence of yoga, which is stilling the mind. Yoga defined by Patanjali as chitta vritti nirodha. Vrittis are the movements, distractions of the mind, and removing it from or getting rid of these distractions. So the question is, if the distractions are got rid of, if the fluctuations are got rid of, is there still a mind? We think there is. And that mind is an extraordinary mind. It's a mind which has its optimum level of tranquility, peace, and in some way power. When I say power, not in the physical sense of the term, it's like a dynamo. It keeps vibrating with energy. Let's leave the word power, it has bad connotations. Energy, let's say. This would be my short definition of yoga.
Beautiful. Let me maybe come back to the second point, the melting of the heart. Can you explain what you exactly mean by that?
Yeah. There are people who say that we are yogis and do such cruel things to their fellow citizens. I mean, I personally do not think they are yogis, because if they are, first thing that happens is that the heart becomes very sensitive to others. You see the spark of the divine in yourself and also in others. So you cannot break, you cannot do that. You cannot create problems for people. You can sort them out if you like. And it is wrong to say that a yogi has no emotions. Yogi has emotions. It's not, but they're positive emotions, not negative emotions like anger and you want to killing some. No, but I give you two examples if we have time. Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa was considered to be a great yogi. I mean, he is the one, because of him Swami Vivekananda came and then he became famous. Thakur, nobody knows much about Ramakrishna except through Vivekananda. Although the organization is called the Ramakrishna Mission. When in the early days, when his nephew died, Ramakrishna, he was watching and he said, I can see the soul come out like a pillow being extracted from the pillowcase. But then when they went to cremated him, he started crying loudly. So they said, what is this? You are supposed to be free, you are supposed to be spiritual. You said it's coming out, you can see. Why are you crying? He said, do you think I have become a yogi, a bhakta, and my heart is hardened? I feel for that boy. He was a nice fellow. There is no contradiction in this. Also, Swami Vivekananda, his disciple, when he was walking in Maharashtra as a wanderer with nothing, he met, he was told that a very old friend of his passed away. He burst into tears. So everybody thought, what is this, Swamiji? You are so. He said, you think I was doing all this years sadhana to harden my heart and make it rock? Of course I am sensitive. It's my sensitiveness of the heart that has made me do all this Ramakrishna mission for charitable activities. Because a yogi feels the pain of others. Very important. If it is not there, we are not moving in the right direction. This is my guess.
Just to end this talk, please feel free to address some wish, some message to the world, whatever is in your heart that you think is important for mankind.
I think mankind has come to a threshold now where our main intention should be peace. Peace. Wherever peace is required, there peace has to be appreciated, encouraged, developed, cultivated. Peace. You know how we end every satsang? Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. We say that, but nobody takes it seriously. Shanti is peace and tranquility. This is what is required for the whole world. And it has to start from here, from me, in the sense that it has to start from my house, from my family, and then go to the world. So I have to be peaceful first. If I am not peaceful, I cannot talk about peace to the wide world. We need peace. What we need is peace and affection and love. This is what we need. But it has to start with me, and it cannot be a theory that starts from somewhere else. I cannot go and say, we want peace, and be a very violent man. I mean, this doesn't work. So let's start with ourselves. For once, let us look at ourselves in the mirror and see, really, when I told my master used to tell me, if somebody calls you a bloody fool, don't get agitated. Look at the mirror, you might be a bloody fool. So, you see that? So, we have to start here. I think peace is what is universally required today. Peace, affection, and love. All hatred in all forms has to get out of the system. If it doesn't, like many old civilizations that were destroyed, we will also be destroyed. It's a fact. We know the lessons, but we don't. We fail to. We refuse to look at it. This is what I would say to the whole world. Peace. If there is no peace, if there is no kindness, if there is no compassion, we are not doing anything in this world. Thank you.